If you were from the 1950s and you're like a psychologist and you walked into that scene, you'd be like, these guys have a major problem.
What if I just posted at least once a day? So I did, and in the first month I gained 2,000 followers.
Equivalent to 43,560 square feet.
No, yeah, that's still equally as big. $50 million home with only 10 creators in there. And I was like, what is the business model here?
That was my daily life. I don't know if I'd believe in myself like that. It's very, very difficult to find the courage to post.
As hard as it is, it's not easy, but you have to find what your polar bear on a unicycle is. You're crazy until you become successful, then you're a genius.
3,000? You lost me. I don't get it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Broker That Never Sleeps podcast. Today we have an unbelievable guest. We have Tejas Halur to come on our show, and I am so excited to dig into that. As always, we have Samantha Germano, the best, the coolest, the smartest real estate agent in New York City, and she's guiding us along today. So first we're going to get into our celebrity news, which is the first segment of the podcast. And maybe Tejas can play with us as well.
He absolutely will.
He probably knows a lot more than I do. I'm just like, taking stabs at it. But
yes.
let's
Houses,
play.
Sure. Mortgages? Yes.
Absolutely. Let's kick it off. Billionaire hedge fund manager Ken Griffin is planning to construct the most expensive home in the world. A, can you guess how much it's going to be valued at? And B, can you guess where he's doing it?
Palm Beach, $1 billion.
Damn it. I was going to curse, but I held my tongue.
Sorry, did I go too fast? Tejas, what do you think?
I thought the most expensive place before you said that number was 250. So I was not going to think it was all the way to $1 billion. So I was going to say 500 million. Palm Beach?
Palm Beach, yeah.
Wouldn't you think it would be in California? No?
Yeah, I mean, Cali's cool. A lot of earthquakes, But I think there's a lot of money in South Florida. I think they have specific tax benefits. So if you're a high-income person, for example, a hedge fund manager, and you move to Florida, you get an incredible tax benefits because you're not paying New York City and New York State tax.
Okay.
Of course, there's a 2% tax when you go into buying real estate. That's how the state makes its money. But there is a very unique and intrinsic value in putting together one property next to another property next to another property. It's called an assemblage. So when you assemble multiple properties together, each time you get another property, the property value inherently goes up. So once you do that on a large scale and you tear it all down and then you create your own wonder world, that's when you really see the value unlocked because it's a one of one. It's a unicorn. There's no ability to buy, right across the street. You could buy one, but it's a lot. And then to buy the next, you have to wait for the other person to die, and then you're going to have to overpay for the next one because they know that you're the guy buying.
So it's like a convenience factor.
Right, yeah. And so it takes time, but there's a real lot of value once you put it all together that you can extrapolate for because nobody else can replicate that.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind when
yes,
I have
when it's time.
In Palm Beach.
The location of this estate is actually known as Billionaires Row of Florida.
Oh.
So
he's right.
Yes.
You knew it was Palm. Okay.
It is on Palm Beach, and he's planning on using it as his retirement home.
Oh.
That sounds like fun.
Okay. Well, how much is the place?
So it's going to be valued at $1 billion. And what's even more astounding is that he has obliterated the existing homes on the property.
Already?
Yes, which spans over 50,000 acres.
So when they say obliterated, did he take a bomb and blow that shit up, or did they just bulldoze normally?
You know what? I'm going to have to get back to you on that. So
did you know that, or was that a guess?
Oh, I know that.
Oh, I was like, what guess if you guess $1 billion in Palm Beach? That's nuts. Okay.
And then he has intentions of spending between $150 and $400 million to construct a mega estate that will be worth estimated $1 billion.
Yep, I can see that. It's possible.
I feel like Tejas is trying to fathom.
He was
What's the next most expensive property? Wasn't 250 million the most expensive property?
There's a property in Los Angeles that traded for close to 250. It was 248 or something, right? Wasn't that the one Jay-Z and Beyonce bought?
I think so, yeah.
And then before that, Ryan sold something in Florida for 144 million, which is one of the largest sales in America. I think the largest in Florida ever. But there's, as time goes on and inflation gets higher and higher, you're going to start seeing more and more of these incredible, you're in sticker shock right now. You're like, what? $1 billion? Yes, $1 billion. There's a lot of value down there, and if you can unlock them by putting together these assemblages, like
Yeah.
there's just so much money there.
Yeah, he will be situated just a quarter mile south of former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago
Mar-a-Lago.
estate. So
Amazing.
that will be his new neighbor.
Right.
Yeah.
Ken's,
fascinating.
Ken's quite the gangster. You know, he's got a property in the. This is, you want to hear some crazy shit. So you know, he's got a property in the Zaha Hadid building down in Miami. Well, the thing that's unique about the Zaha Hadid building is that this building has a helicopter pad on the roof. So because this building is at the base, right in like downtown, like city center, like Brickell, because it's right on the water, you can literally take the elevator down to a boat dock. So he owns on the islands right in the middle of basically Miami Beach and Miami. So what his gangster strategy is he could fly on the PJ to the airport, take the chopper to the top of the Zaha Hadid building, go to his full floor apartment, take a leak, do whatever he's got to do, then get back in, go down to the bottom, hit the yacht or the speedboat, and go right over to his house that's on an island where he drives up right. So you're never hitting the road once. It's just
Wow.
air. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how you
That's
do
cool.
it down in Miami. So like if you want to know what like the ultimate flex is, that's the blueprint.
Yeah.
I know I don't really hit the roads either. From here, I'll walk to the city bike, take the city bike up to and walk again. So
Yeah.
him and I, we're no roads. One thing we have in common, you know.
You're on the same level as Ken Griffin.
Oh my God, that is incredible. Well, you know, flying cars pretty soon too, so we'll have that.
Yeah.
True.
It'll be like the Jetsons. Nickelodeon, right? Do you know about the Jetsons?
I know of the Jetsons.
Right. You know, he doesn't know. Do you know about the Jetsons? Am I just
It's got a
dating-
good theme song, right?
Did I just teach George Jetson? All right, that was that was when I was a child. I watched that show. You guys weren't born yet. So, all right, we'll keep moving on here.
Okay. Chiefs Travis Kelce decided it was time for an upgrade after purchasing a $6 million Kansas City pad on 3 acres of land. Now, some say it was an effort to impress his new love interest. Do you know who his new love interest is?
I mean, let's ask Tejas this because I obviously know. Do you know?
Oh yeah,
Tay Swift.
of course.
Tay
Tay
Swift.
Tay.
Tay Tay. Whose real estate portfolio actually is, I think, estimated to be worth $150 million.
Taylor's?
She owns real estate everywhere. Rhode Island, California, Tennessee, I believe.
Nashville, yeah.
Nashville. Obviously New York. I don't know if she owns real estate in Florida, but
Yeah, pretty
be.
soon. You can
Yeah,
just call
one day.
us Tay. We'll take care of it.
yeah, Tay Tay, if you're listening.
She's an incredible businesswoman. Like
Yeah.
even with her own label now and what she's doing with the AMC deal. I don't know
Yeah.
if you saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't. What was she doing?
She's releasing the Eras Tour as a movie, but instead of going through a traditional Hollywood studio where they would take 60 to 80% of first
Right.
couple weeks ticket sales, she's just
Right,
going
right.
straight to AMC. And it's like a first deal of its kind and completely cut out the middle person, which everyone thought was necessary.
Well, isn't that like, not to sidetrack, isn't that where everything is going, right? Especially with
Basically.
like building your personal brand and, how like even with artists too, like, whenever they sign up with the label, like the label takes all the money. So it's like even like an NFT of your music, right? It's like a way to like go direct. And
Yep.
I feel like the longer that the personal brand is surviving, like we'll talk
Yeah.
about your personal brand in a minute, the more likely that that's where you're going to see a billionaire or even a trillionaire from a personal brand because traditionally those people who were in the music business, they don't have that opportunity because the label's taking everything. Of course, they're in charge of distribution and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But now with technology, that can be short-circuited and you can kind of go direct. So, that's a great example.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Some say that this move came after, starting to date Taylor Swift in an effort to impress her, but also because his former home, was just too accessible and was becoming an unintended tourist attraction with people staking out there and, paparazzi welcoming him when he walked out the door.
Yeah, well, look, that's just another way of saying you got to level up when
Yeah.
you're dating Tay-Tay.
Also, his salary jumped from $2.9 million in 2022 to $11.2 million this year. So
Oh,
a few
nice.
factors that kind of came into that. But either way, the home was listed in September of last year for $6.9 million. So he got $900,000 off the asking price. The home features 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, and spans 17,000 square feet.
That's it. 17,000.
But actually,
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
it has a 6-car garage, a wine cellar, a Beverly Hills style pool area, tennis and pickleball court, and a miniature golf course.
Wow.
Wow, par 3 course.
Yeah. That's
no,
pretty-
miniature
golf.
golf,
yeah.
But we can make a par 3 out of
Par
it.
three.
100%. Yeah.
What's Kansas City like? Is it growing? Do you know anything about Kansas City?
I think a lot of. I mean, he's not the first athlete to upgrade there. I think there was.
Mahomes.
Yes,
Mahomes has
Mahomes.
been
Yeah.
buying over there.
I feel like you can speak to it a little better than I can.
Samir, who works with us, grew up in Kansas City, and he has his tentacles in there. And we're looking at some multifamily deals to revitalize the area. But in general, Kansas City's got a really unique positioning. It's in the middle of America, so you can kind of get, just to the East Coast or to the West Coast or to the North or to the South super quickly. It's also got a lot of land, so you see purchases like that on 3 acres. So the good news is that if you want to be insulated with land, because if you're getting closer to the city, you're kind of next to other people, right? So when you go a little bit further out, you have those pockets where you're able to spread out a little bit, and it gives you a little bit more security. So I think those with the success of Kansas City, once a team wins the Super Bowl a couple of years, everybody gets paid more. Right,
Yep.
you get bonuses for winning Super Bowls, you get bonus for winning playoff games, MVPs, all that stuff. So then these people have more disposable income, and they're investing in real estate. They're investing in multifamily real estate to revitalize the neighborhood. So it really depends, but it's definitely getting better and better. And I think a lot of it has to do with the success of the Chiefs.
Yep, definitely.
Interesting. On a funny thing, tangent, I have no idea how to quantify an acre in my head. I know what a mile looks like. I know what obviously an inch looks like. You could tell me an acre is 5 football fields, 1 football field. I don't know what is an acre?
So I have a weird definition. There was
It's a good one.
There was growing up, one of my friends' homes was on an acre of land, and that's just what I picture of it.
Right.
It's hard to. I understand what you're saying. It's really hard to quantify
Because there's no other basis to it, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
How many square feet is an acre?
I mean, I'm sure they could do math on that. But at the end of the
Hold
day,
on, please.
the best way to do it, like what Sam said, is I own an investment property. I own a lake house in Connecticut, and it's on 0.75 acres.
Okay.
So you've been there,
Yep.
right? You walk, you're like, okay,
That's an acre, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little less than an acre. So that's how we do it, more or less, because it's like a field. Because sometimes it's a box, sometimes it's a rectangle, sometimes it's a circle.
Gotcha.
Quick math lesson. 1 acre is equivalent to 43,560 square feet.
Still makes no sense to me.
No, yeah, that's
that-
still equally as big. I don't know.
43,000? You lost me. I don't get it.
Let's move from math to social media for a bit.
Ooh.
Let's do it.
Ooh. Okay,
This
so
is
obviously
good.
we have Tejas on. You are so well immersed in the social media world.
That's all I study.
It's all you study. Let's talk about that. First, kind of tell us how you got to where you are today,
Yeah.
and kind of what you do today in the social media world.
Ooh,
Great.
This is great.
I know.
The whole thing started when I was in high school. I was part of a club called Rube Goldberg. Do you know what a Rube Goldberg machine is?
No, never
It's
heard of it.
have you seen a ping pong ball hits a domino and the domino turns on a fan that moves a
Oh,
sailboat?
yes.
It's
Yeah.
We call it the most inefficient way to make a machine.
Right.
It was a new club at my school, and I was the captain of it. And I remember, and it was my senior year of high school, and we were building this machine, and I took my phone out and I started recording a progress video of here it is. The next day I recorded a progress video, then a reaction of someone. And then I recorded a progress video, reaction, and then started just recording people. And throughout this whole year, my senior year of high school, I had a culmination of 9 months of content. I was one of the best journeys of my life. I look back at that time and I'm this is incredible.
Right.
So it was 2 days before prom and graduation. I was I have all these clips. What if I put it into Windows Movie Maker, some simple thing, and edit in 5 hours? 48 hours later of just 2 all-nighters, it becomes this 45-minute long documentary of my senior year of high school with my 10 best friends.
Wow.
And I remember that showing it to my friends, and it was one of the most just beautiful, such a vivid moment in my life of, wow, I have it captured, so I'll watch it once a year. And to see the reaction from those 10 people, and we're crying at this. This is such a nostalgic moment for us. And from there, I was okay, there's something really interesting with this idea of video storytelling. So let's take social media out of it. The idea of being able to capture a moment and portray it in this narrative encapsulated me.
Right.
That was 2018. 2020 pandemic hits. I went to college at Indiana, And then when the pandemic hits, I was like, shoot, everything's online now. What do I do? And that's when like I first started hearing about TikTok. I was like, what is TikTok? Like all my friends are like scrolling on it in their passing periods. Maybe I'll get on there. And I was living in a fraternity house, and one of the guys in that house said he hit like 100,000 views. I was like, what? This guy?
Right.
This guy hit 100,000 views? Like, what did he
right,
do?
yeah.
And I remember in August of 2020, I told myself, what if I just posted at least once a day? Because I'm also like a Gary Vee subscriber at this point. Like Gary Vee being like, this is the new thing, post 3 times a day, right? And he's going crazy with it. I'm like, okay, he seems to be successful. Like I'm 20 in college, like let me try this. So I did. And in the first month, I gained 2,000 followers, right? And I mean, that's incredible.
In
like,
a
to
month.
Go 0
Yeah.
to
Right.
2,000, it's unreal.
100%.
And yeah, I mean, just really fast forwarding, I kept going with it, right? And in January, I switched up my style, and January of 2021 was when I'd say this like career for me started. It's when I looked at it as a business. I got my first brand deal in May, and I was like, whoa, there's like money to be made in this.
Right.
And so that's how it started, and it's kind of evolved into what I do today. I'll call myself primarily a YouTuber, right? So I was a TikTok creator, short form creator. Now all my energy goes into YouTube. Right. And half my job is, playing the business side and like being a networker and understanding the game. And the half of it is being a producer, a director, an editor.
Right.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Can I just stop in for 1 second? So, first of all, I didn't know that about you, and it reminds me of my story. So, when I was in college, I came back for a fifth year. So I played football. I tore my ACL. So I basically finished school, and then I said, I'm going to get a double major. I'm going to come back and I'm going to play football. But I was living in New York City at the time. I was on an air mattress. I was like a waiter on Madison and 62nd. But I was also training as a boxer, and I was pretty like jacked up and like excited about the season. And my buddy was like, hey, let's just go to the end of the street and you just talk shit and walk down and we'll make a video for the team. I was like, okay, cool. So I did that. I walked to the end of the street. I talked shit. And we put it out for my entire team to kind of pump everybody up. And people went bananas. They're like, oh my God, this is insane. When's your next one? And I'm like, next one? I don't understand. They're like, make another one. And in the first video, I shaved my head. I had long hair and I shaved it into like how I am now. And people were like, oh my God, like you're crazy. So the next one, I was like, all right, I don't know what to do. I'm going to shave my head again. So I shaved it into a mohawk. Like it grew and then I made a mohawk. But then I had a lightning bolt in the back.
Love it.
Because when I played football, they called me Lightning. My other linebacker that I play with, he was called Thunder. So we were Thunder and Lightning. So I put a lightning bolt in my back. And that made everyone go bananas again. And then they're like, where's the next video? So long story short, I ended up making 10 different videos. And before every single game, I would drop the video. And that was right when Facebook came out. So I put the video on Facebook and I would poke the other team's quarterback. This is in 2007.
No way.
So these people would get poked, and then I'd have a video, and they're like, no one even knows what the internet is at this point. And I'm dropping videos that's like, I'm coming after you, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And people were like loving it. So I became this celebrity on my campus. And then at the end, I made 2 DVDs. One was, or two CDs. One was, because I had, one was a DVD of all of the 10 episodes that I made with bloopers, which was like 20 minutes long and totally hilarious. And then I had like an interview afterwards of me talking about how I did it all. And then there's a soundtrack video. So every video had like one particular song.
Wow.
So I had like a soundtrack, and I sold them for $20 a pop. Okay, and people bought them because it was like the hottest thing. So from there, just as you had that moment, so I made that whole compilation experience, and to this day, I will get phone calls at 2, 3 a.m. People are like, I'm watching the Soulja DVD right now. I am crying. This is the best fucking thing. Because as I went, I didn't shave my head. I started including all the people in my team. And then there was like a story, and it was like very nostalgic, and like it was incredible. And to this day, anybody at Trinity College, shout out to the Bantams, everybody who played with me at that time, they're like, yo, that was the most innovative and cool thing ever. So for me, that's what got my taste. It's like you have to go through one of those experiences where like you put it together and then you see, and then there's like 2,000 viewers. Like, and then you're like, wait, I got 2,000 subs and 30. That's
I think
nuts. And then you build from there, right?
Yeah, the important thing in both of our stories is we didn't start with it with the intention of making money. We fell in love with the game first of the two, right? It's like the idea of just making something. Of course, there's the vice of like, oh, we got reactions. And I love attention, right? It's like that's the vice. But like going back to social media, the people starting it with like, I want to make this a business. Like there's so much it's not. It's like high bandwidth effort that I didn't see anything for the first
Right.
year
Yeah.
of it.
But it was
you know?
fun. You were
It was
having
fun.
fun.
You just
and it was
enjoyed it.
entertaining to
Yep.
you. It wasn't a
Absolutely.
task and a job that you were trying to overcome and get there so you make $5,000 a month and then
Yeah.
you're not doing it so you're beating yourself up. Like
Yeah.
we're just putting out
Exactly.
content.
It's that
and
classic
having fun.
question of if I got $1 billion today, like what of my life would change? I would still make videos.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know, that's it.
Let me ask you. So the world of real estate is the world of social media is ever changing. There's new apps coming out. There's new advice that we're given to cater to different audiences, do certain things with our videos,
Right.
what have you. In a world that is ever changing, what have you found to be the successful constants of social media, like the pillars of social media that will be tried and true no matter how the industry changes?
It's a great question. There's two things. One is the core idea of storytelling is it'll always, no matter what platform, whether it's a 90-minute documentary, a 90-second TikTok, or a 90-second YouTube video or a 9-second TikTok.
Right.
The basics of storytelling will always be in every single video, right? It's like that's what we humans love. And a story is simply three things. It's setup, problem, resolution, right? And like even a 9-second video with like just one sentence on there has that intuitively,
Yep.
right? So that's a constant. I also give this. I think what especially Sirhan has done really well, and what something that I love. One of the first pieces of advice I give to a new creator or someone that's at least somewhat established is I call it like a polar bear on a unicycle, right? Where it's it's like a polar bear is pretty interesting. Right?
Yeah.
You look at a polar bear, like, that's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
A unicycle is also really interesting.
Right.
But if you put a polar bear on a unicycle, people are willing to pay to see that.
Right.
And it's this idea of taking two things that really aren't meant to be together, putting them together, and that's when you create your own lane.
Right.
And I think that's what you all did really well here. Right? This is like how many real estate agencies do you go? They like all look the same. They're so homogenous.
Right.
You walk outside this building,
Yeah.
there's a huge banner out there. It's so bold, and that's like, this is you guys are the polar bear on a unicycle for certain.
Right. Right.
So when I think about as an early creator, the biggest thing is finding your voice, and your voice is that polar bear on a unicycle. Everyone will start off just imitating the people they know best, and for me, it took me 2.5 years to find out my voice. I would say I didn't find it until 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I was just imitating the people that are more successful than me.
Right.
And everyone will be like, jump on these trends, and the trends are like, you're just being like everyone else.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the second. Like if you want to get longevity in this space,
Right.
which is like if you want to play this game for 10 years, you need to build your own lane. So that's I think again, everything's so ever changing in terms of platforms.
Yep.
But it's like find your own voice, and you can adapt to anything.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit, because I've been following you for a number of years, and it's been remarkable to see the change even as of late. Like how you're like looking down. Like when I like it because you're like you have the little like note cards.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, like this. So it's like very visual,
Yep.
which I think maybe like appealing to children kind of, but it's also appealing to
Yeah.
like mankind, because I'm like watching it. I'm like I can't not watch
Sure,
it.
yeah.
Like you do a great job of doing the setup, and then you're like, oh, this is the problem, and you're like, here's the things surrounding the
Exactly,
problem, and
yeah.
I'm like watching it
Yep.
because your video is like shooting down at you.
Yeah,
So
it's a
maybe
bird's eye view.
Can you
Yeah.
just tell us a little bit about that strategy, because
Yeah.
I've noticed a change, and I'm just very curious as to like
Absolutely.
how that change came about and like what that strategy is.
Yeah. My motto for this year is I want to take a topic I'm interested in. I'm inherently an educational creator, right? I think every person has like a capitalist and a monk inside of them. It's like your journey in life is to find the balance of both.
I like that.
That's a
Right.
good
And so
point.
like what fulfills the monk in me is I love feeling like I'm giving value to educational value to the viewer. Right. So every video I touch is educational. My job and what I think is my voice is taking that topic, going one step deeper in research, and packaging it one step more creatively than anyone else. So actually, Sam was in one of my videos.
I played the role of a therapist.
Yeah, it's like 3 months ago. I
Saw that.
Yeah, I made a video. It was titled "I lived in a LA TikTok mansion, and
Yep.
it was corrupt." Right, and this is my story of back in like 2020. These big mansions in at Los Angeles would be filled with like 10, 19-year-olds. Right, and I remember living in one of them for a week, and in the back of my head, I'm like, how are these operating? Because I don't understand. It's like I believe it was like a $50 million home in Beverly Hills with only 10 creators in there. And I was like, what is the business model here? I don't understand. So luckily, I could have sat down right here and I just told the story.
Right.
Instead, what I did was, luckily that house was a SPAC, so all of their financials were public. So I was like, let me go into their financials. And instead of just like that, I was like, what if I played a scene where I love acting too, and I love set building. So I was like, let me get two of my friends. Sam here is the therapist. I have another friend who's like the antagonist of the story. We sit down in this fake little thing, and the antagonist and I are sitting down in a therapy session, retrospectively looking back, while I'm also filming these. It was like this wild journey. And for me, it's like I did one step deeper in research of that story and packaged it one step more creatively. So that one-liners, every video I make has to touch that. Right. Whether it's that was a 20-minute video, or even a 45-second TikTok, right? Which I think you're talking about more of like, I'll take a topic that we just talked about, Taylor Swift's AMC deal, right? It's like, how can I go one step deeper in research and then also simplify it and just like cutouts and things like that? That's right. Even if you're watching with no audio, can you still understand what the point I'm trying to make?
Exactly. And I think the no audio part is also super helpful because, you know, we've all been there. We've all been scrolling, and like I have my TikTok on mute for the most part. Yeah. Like, you know, especially on YouTube, like I'm not, or Twitter too. Like I'm not trying to hear it, and if I want to, I'll elect to do it. Right. So absolutely. It's like you look, especially with kids who are, you said, scrolling between classes. Like, you know, they're scrolling in class. They can't have audio, so it's like, you know, you could still get that viewership by having it visually appealing and like doing stuff like what you're doing with your hands and like introducing the topic in a writing that's cut out, like versus you just talking. And obviously captions are very important and that helps out a lot. But this is another creative way, like what you're saying, like anybody can do captions. Everybody does captions, but you're doing little cutouts, which I feel are one of the, I mean, I don't know if anyone's doing that, but it's one of the only that I've seen, and I'm drawn to it every time. Because I know that there's going to be some sort of extra layer of value that I get, but it's also entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very easy to just download a picture of Taylor Swift and put her in the video, just like that. But there is an extra level of quality, in my opinion, of what if I printed that out and then I can draw so many diagrams. It's like a whole new canvas, which is like having a camera shoot down, and now how much more can I do with it? Right.
Yeah. Genius.
It is really cool. And I'm grateful that I got to witness it from like both sides. Obviously, I watched it when it came out, but I also got to be a part of it and just to see how lit up you were in the process of like making it was really cool too. For social media, obviously you have identified yourself as a storyteller and as a YouTuber. How have you used it to your advantage to personal brand yourself?
I think it goes back to, you know, I don't want to be the second best in anyone else's lanes. Sure. Right? I'd rather, like, if someone is like, let's look at it from a sponsor's lens, right? Like Adobe's my biggest sponsor, right? And so like, if you're Adobe and you're like, I'm trying to find educational creators on the internet, this guy is going one step deeper in research, one step more creative in packaging. I'm the top of my own lane. I feel like I have zero competition in this world, right? Because I mean, you and I can talk about the same topic. I'm just going to do it in my voice. You're going to do it in your voice. Right? And it's like, it's not like a view from me is not taking away a view from you. And so I think in terms of personal branding, I'm hoping that every person that watches my video goes, I've never seen that before. Right? And like they're coming to me for not the topic, but because they like me explaining that topic. Right? And so it's a
great point.
And so, right? Because I'll talk about things my dream is to be able to take traditional media, social media, and sports media, and as long as those things touch like a business element, be able to be someone that can put an opinion out there, right, or some sort of take on it. That's the capitalist side of me. I'm like, that's amazing. That's like that's such great market share, and you know, someone that would maybe watch a, you know, Travis Kelce, what he did with his $6 million thing. That's something I might be able to talk about. Are they also going to watch what is happening with AMC theaters? Maybe not, but are they going to be willing to watch me talk about it? That's what I'm building towards.
And what that has done, because when you go out and you put out content, you do one step more on digging, you then take it and you package it one step more creative. Like that's how you've established your own, I guess, presence.
That's my corner of the
online,
internet.
Right? So like that's your brand when it comes to that. But then that brand gets viewership, right? And that so you're out there, you're creating your brand, you're shouting it from the mountaintops. More and more people start to view it, and then other opportunities come up, whether it's brand deals, whether it's to work on Nickelodeon, for example. Like I would argue, and I don't know too much about that deal, but that deal was predicated on the fact that people follow you, and you are watched not only by people my age or Sam's age or your own age, because we're at different age bracket, but then also all the kids, you know, from ages 3 and up probably. And I don't know the exact metrics, but, you know, how did that come about? Was that predicated on?
That's a great point. Like Nickelodeon I didn't do any casting things. I didn't do any auditions. My social media outlets are a visual resume. Right. And that's the biggest thing. So if I look like everyone else, if I'm just like joined the homogeneity of the social media creators, I don't think I would have been selected for that.
Yeah.
Right. And so to your point, like Nickelodeon completely found me through that. And to speak on it, I do a Nickelodeon show, and I've been doing it for a year. It's an educational Nickelodeon show, Nick News. And it's so interesting because I'll see, you know, people go through the traditional element to be an on-screen talent.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa. Like, I'm so blessed that I have 10,000 hours of audition tapes already online. Right. I don't have to do anything else. You've seen me, like, I've recorded in scripted, non-scripted. I've recorded like all these different sets. So, yeah.
Another question that came to me. So obviously you found your lane, you found your corner of social media. For someone who is trying or who is experimenting with it right now, do you feel that it's best for them to establish their corner and then start making content to get there, or vice versa, just to start and find their way?
Vice versa.
Right.
So
and find
just make videos.
Yeah.
Just make videos in the beginning. It took me 2.5 years of uploading every single day to be like that. For that statement, one step deeper in research, one step more creatively in packaging to come about.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to have what's paralysis of analysis, right? Where you're just
paralysis.
Yes, right. So it's like I think I know, like if you don't iterate, you're not creating those feedback loops, right? And every video, and the beauty of I think social media versus like let's just say a traditional startup is. I think it's traditional startup will work on a business plan and they'll think about it for like 3 months and then they'll like work on it. And maybe a year later, will they get their first feedback loop of, is this actually working?
Right.
Every day I'm going and I'm like, it's almost restarting a new business because I'm like, is this going to work? That's the idea. Okay, let me make it. Let me test out my production and let me put it out. Let me test out the feedback. Right. And like I've gotten so many reps at that to then find that voice.
I want to just, because you've gotten so many reps, right? For most people, when they start in social media, it's very, very difficult to find the courage to post.
Yeah.
And courage, I think, is something that, you know, is very hard to summon up. But once you get it and you're kind of like on the roll, like it's second nature. So would you mind just talking about like how you found the courage to even do 3 videos a day?
Yeah.
Like what inside of you made that happen?
Yeah, I think this is it's a really good point because being a creator is one, inherently very scary.
Yeah.
2, inherently very lonely.
Right.
You're putting yourself out there and you're working in silo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's do the easier one to fix. How do you not be so lonely doing it? Right. Finding at least one other person that can, one, believe in the craziness that is you in the beginning, right? I have 0 followers, but I want to be a social media creator. That's crazy. Right. That's like a crazy statement, but there's that thing. It's like you're crazy until you become successful, then you're a genius. Right. So it's that. And so the best thing I think I did was just find people that were interested in this. And like, you know, when I started, I was living in a fraternity house. And I remember that place was so toxic for my first like couple of videos. It would be like, no one would say to my face, it'd be 3 a.m. when all the brothers are drunk, it'd be just like knocking like, you're an embarrassment to this house. Like, what are you doing? Right? And that would hit until I go over to, I had 2 friends that lived off campus. One he's an Instagram fitness creator and another one was a gaming creator. There, I could care less what people were thinking about me because I saw them uploading. Right. So I actually think this spans more than just social media. Like even my first tip in the fitness world is like, if you want to work out more, find people that work out, right? Or like
find
that's
your community.
Exactly. And so with creating someone that like is in a similar lane to you and that upload with them, right? And that'll help with the confidence aspect.
I mean, that's a really good point because Sam and I were talking about this too. You know, your life really is is predicated around the people that you spend your time around.
It's the most important thing.
And if it's very hard to have courage when you have people at 3 a.m. knocking on your door saying that you're an embarrassment. If that happened to me, and I'm very bold, I'm happy to go out and do whatever the fuck is needed to get things done. But at the same time, if that was my daily life, I don't know if I'd believe in myself like that.
Absolutely.
Right? But I've made, very conscious changes to, if that's a situation in my life, like you were talking about it yesterday, I will amputate that. I don't care how long I've known you. I don't really give a shit, because you're going to continue to do what you're going to do, but I'm going over here.
Yeah.
So you're right, friend, kind of, but not really, and I'll see you later, and I bid you adieu. Because it's very important, because if you don't surround yourself with those people, Samantha, right? We talked about this whole thing yesterday. No, literally, this is exactly what we're talking about.
Oh, nice.
The people who will encourage you. To
Yeah.
say, like, I encourage you every time you do it, you send me like a TikTok. I'm like, yes, more. Yes. Even if it's no good. I don't care if it's no good or not. The fact is she's doing it. So it's like big yes.
Absolutely.
I'm just so excited every time you do it,
good.
because it's just, you're doing it. And that takes courage, and it takes courage to walk away from people like your frat buddies.
It's tough. Yeah.
And then talk about just the community. So you walked away from certain people, but then you hung out with those 2 people. Then you went to this TikTok house. Like, how have you built this community to give you the courage to be the best you?
Yeah. I'll even say, like, that TikTok house in LA, like, I don't have many friends there. And I think the one thing is, people will hear community and think they need, like, a group of 10 people.
Right.
No, it's like, you have the best inner circle, like the people that you ride or die with.
Right.
Like, I live in a content house. We call it the Content Closet. It's with 2 other creators.
Nice. Content
closet? Like, we live in New York City. The problem in New York City is there's too many things to do, right? It's like, it's not like I grew up in Indiana in the suburbs of Chicago. It's like, it's not that there's not enough to do. It's there's too many things to do.
Right.
Last year, I felt so much FOMO on the weekend of, like, I'm editing right now. There's like, look how many events there are and stuff. Right. This year, 0 FOMO. It'll be a Friday night if all 3 of us are just editing in our place. And we know it's like, I love it. That's the setting I want to be in, especially, like, I moved to this city for this opportunity, and I know it can all disappear. Like, it's completely fine. Right. And so I'm the type of person that would always think about, like, what else could I do right now?
Right.
Yeah. But when you're surrounded by people who are doing
it's
what
incredible.
you're doing, you don't feel
when I'm in the same room as 2 other people that are also, like, we're all starting and, like, we're in the same position. This is the best year of my life. Right. And so it's been that.
I also just want to add a funny story. So Tejas and I were in London last December, and you and Shervin and Colt were talking about the apartment that you live in now, and how excited that you were to turn the living room into literally, they don't have a living room.
We don't have a living room, yeah.
Their living room is 3 desks and a ton of equipment just for content. And when you walk in, it's like they're just at their computer typing or doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, if you were from the 1950s and you were like a psychologist and you walked into that scene, you'd be like, these guys have a major problem, right?
These people are serial killers.
Right. But if you actually dig into it, like, you guys are like-minded. You care about each other. You support each other's visions. When other people are out, getting their 2-shot tequila, whatever, happy hour bullshit, you're fucking editing. And that matters.
Yeah, and there's nothing against that. But I think the journey that I'm trying to be on is, like, I find so much happiness in that. And every time I have gone, and I've gone, like, it's been 18 months since I've been in New York City, I've gone out maybe 7 times. One of them is with you all. So, like, 7 times without you guys. And every single time I, like, wake up and, like, it's like, I could have edited last night and I would have had the same amount of happiness. Yeah.
So we're talking about happiness, like, and I know you make a lot of content. What gives you joy?
Ooh,
that's
what gives me joy?
Really good question.
What gives me everlasting joy is, like, just seeing the progress that I've made, right? Being like that video you're in is still my favorite video I've made to date. I watched that video back. I'm like, I don't know if, like, that was an incredible piece of work from me that I was like, I never thought I could do.
Wow.
One is, like, I'm so business minded. I grew up, like, I thought I was gonna be a product manager at some business and something, and then being like, oh, I'm a creative. Like, that is crazy to me.
Right.
Because I'm such, like, a logical, like, you give me, I always say that's like, you give me a business model to create, I'll give you the best business model. But, like, I never thought I could, like, turn this, like, creative brain on. So always challenging myself to get better in these things. The best thing about my house, that 3 group, is, like, we're all very symbiotic in that my roommate Colt is the best at knowing about cameras than anyone I know.
Right.
And so it's like learning from him. My
Right.
other roommate Shervin is the best at learning about or he's the biggest like content factory machine. He's like understands how to stay consistent in that more than anyone I know.
Wow.
And it's like
so you pull from each one of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
And
that's-
what's your unique? So each one has
I get us into places. Like
Ah.
I'm like I would say like I'm a networking guy. So
Got
it's
it.
like
You are.
it's like hey, we need to verify yourselves on YouTube. Like I know the person to do it, right? So
Right.
like I'll pat myself on the back of being able to play that game.
Look, that's
Right.
that's a huge asset. You need someone
Yeah.
who's going to do that.
Everybody plays their own role, and it's
Yeah.
important to know what your role is and learn from everyone else. Like I had a really good friend of mine, his name's Andy Culp. He was my camera guy for a long time, meaning he had all the cameras, and he would teach me about lenses, and I got my
Yep.
5D Mark II and like my Sony. So you have all these people around you that are like, your people. He's not a camera guy per se, like he runs his own business, but part of his business was creating content. So he learned it all. And then I would just hang out with him and he's like, hey, you got to do this. Like, I would hold the camera like this at the beginning. He's like, first thing, act like you know what you're doing. I'm
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm like,
pretty good.
okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like now when I teach other people, I'm like, okay, hold the camera like this and act like
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
yeah.
If you act like you know, but I didn't know that he taught me that.
I
So it's
love
like,
it,
it's a
yeah.
beautiful,
Yeah.
relationship that you end up finding when you're around these like-minded
Yeah,
individuals.
absolutely.
Yeah. Let me round out this conversation by asking you one last question.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see social media going in the next 5 years?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I'll say this. The current state of social media is TikTok is about culture, right? I don't think there's many TikTok creators. I don't think you can build a sustainable business if you're TikTok only as a creator, right? But in terms of like defining culture, there's no better platform than that, right? How many inside jokes are on TikTok, right? The moment we saw Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift together, everyone's TikTok was that. And like it was the most widespread news of that like moment. YouTube is the place where I think any creator can build a business, right? And it's really just how you get paid out on both platforms. Right. So if you want to be a creator, I think YouTube's a place. I think I could do it for the next 40 years of my life, be this YouTube creator. In terms of like where I see everything going, if you're a small business and you're just like, what is the biggest megaphone? It is TikTok, right? And I think it'll be that. YouTube is this place, like if I want to have a deep connection with the community, right, and actually have like followers that are like following a progression or a journey, then I think that's YouTube. And I think those will stay pretty constant. Instagram is a place of authority, right? Of like if I'm like, oh, you tell me about Niall, I don't know who Niall is. Where's the first place I'm going to look him up?
Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see our mutuals, right? And that's like how much credibility comes with that.
Gotcha.
Like, oh, these people follow Niall, like that he
Right.
must be legit,
Right.
So as long that's how I look at Instagram, and I think these will stay pretty constant. There's going to be small changes, small features here and there, but
Of course, yeah.
I always look at storytelling as this constant. Like, am I telling a good story? And do I have my vision? I the best part of this year for me is like I found clarity in the path that I'm going to go. It's 1,000 miles long, but I know where I'm going.
Right.
It's not 5 different paths.
Right. And focus equals growth, right?
Yeah.
One of my mentors always says that. So, if you're focusing on this or that or all these different things, that's great. But at a certain point, you have to like narrow down that focus and be the niche down and be the best, be the expert at it, which is what I think you're doing. And I'm like
That's it.
really, really honored and thrilled that you're on our podcast.
appreciate
Tejas.
it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I know I said that the last thing was my last question, but this
More.
isn't the question. What is the best piece of advice you would give to someone who's watching this right now? No matter what part of the journey that they're on in creating content.
As hard as it is, it's not easy, but you have to find what your polar bear on a unicycle is, right? And so that comes through consuming a lot of different things, right? I found my polar bear on a unicycle not by just consuming other social media creators, but I also love movies, right? And bringing in traditional media into social media, right? And yeah, just like you're going to imitate the people in the beginning, you're going to imitate the people you like the most, but just figuring out how you can start changing one variable at a time until you feel uniquely you. And when you know you're on the right track, when people go, whoa, I've never seen anything like that before. And if you do that, then that's what you hammer, focus in for however long you want to make it a career.
Amazing. Thank you
so much,
so
Tejas.
much, brother.
I'm
We
glad.
really
This is fun.
appreciate you coming on, sharing some amazing nuggets of wisdom. This guy is a genius. What is your social media handles on YouTube, TikTok? Tell everybody.
At Tejas Fuller everywhere.
Oh, everywhere, by the way. By the way, mine's Niall Lundgren everywhere too. So we're the same. No,
it.
you know, got to keep it the same on all channels. But thank you so much. Please do like, please do subscribe to this podcast. We have so many more beautiful episodes that we will be dropping this year and for many, many years to come. So thank you. We will see you next time. Thank you.